Okay, time to enter the world of Nurgle with a good minute 15 trailer here. That's all we're going to be talking about today is just this trailer. We'll go through some of the units in it. There's some Slaanesh units that are previewed in it as well. It looks like Slaanesh is going to have some sort of, not possessed, but some sort of kind of cool Marauder style unit. We'll take a look at it as we kind of jump through this, but it's looking pretty spicy and I'm really stoked to jump in this with you. I'm really, as a whole, I'm really stoked on the animations of Nurgle, of Tzeentch. I mean, Khorne is very one note, right? Like I've said this so many times before, but looking at Khorne's army, they're all sick and cool, but there's nothing like bulbous or crazy like that moves around and jiggles like there is for the blue and pink horrors, like there is for almost the entire Nurgle roster. So it's kind of cool to see these rosters come to life and have such smooth, awesome, fucking crazy animations. And especially whenever it comes to seeing what the Slaanesh stuff is, when we saw that initial trailer with Slaanesh and Nurgle, we saw those cool sync animations with the tails and the fiends. So a lot of cool stuff to be seen here in this video. Again, I will be turning the... Let's turn this down a little bit right now. I'll be turning the audio down so that it's mainly me speaking over it. This is to prevent YouTube from getting me any kind of stupid copyright claims or anything like that. But this is pretty much just, we're going to watch through a lot of it. I'm going to just kind of exclaim over it and then we'll go from there. I'll let it roll. Open up with some little plague toads. And we'll just jump back to the parts that I particularly want to talk about. But again, I really like this presence of Nurgle. We already see how these units are moving, which is very slow. We see these great unclean ones kind of going through. Look at that mace right there too, right? The flail of Nurgle. See the plague drones and the beast of Nurgle. Like I love, like look at that. Like obviously these things aren't going to be the fastest things in the world, right? But they're going to have a good enough of a Nurgle spell, I would assume, going off right there. Kugoth looking disgusting. And I love the Nurglings as they move. They're like little tiny doom wheels here. Like, what's it called? What is it? Wild West movies and those things kind of come into this shot all of a sudden. Man, like, the larger than life size of the Great Unclean Ones too fits that art that you see throughout all of Warhammer Fantasy. Of these massive Great Unclean Ones just towering over everything. So, really, really excited here with this. Let's jump back to some stuff. Obviously, we see the Plague Toads, which are really, really cool to see, man. Like, I didn't think we'd get Plague Toads ever, but stoked to see them in the roster here. And right there, we get the Herald of Nurgle with the Plague Bearers. Now, I do wonder which ones are exalted. I would imagine there's maybe something that kind of tips that off as far as the aesthetics of the model. And even looking here, things look pretty uniform. Yeah, not seeing too much of a crazy thing. So I think this is the exalted Greater Unclean One. Remember from the concept art that we took a look at yesterday? These guys had little hoods on in the concept art, but I think that the hood might also be a delineation of lore style, right? Oh, this one's the lore of Nurgle, this one's the lore of death. So it might just kind of depend, or maybe it's a specific loadout here too. So we'll have to see what the actual roster looks like and what those actual units look like on an actual battle of some sort to get us an indication, right? Is this the lore of Nurgle, or is this the lore of death? Or is this just the exalted Great Unclean One? Because we also see in the background in a little bit, just a standard variation one. We get the Plague Drones. Remember, the Plague Drones are Plague Bearers on Rot Flies. That's your standard, I think, Great Unclean One down there. That's a good shot, man. Look at that. Look at that. That is sick. God, these guys are so hideous looking. Ugh, God, man, the Plague Drones, Rot Flies really upset me. Yeah, so I think that might be just the normal Great Unclean One. Or maybe there are Great and Exalted variations that are more melee focused. Who knows? With that big ass sword. We got our big Beast of Nurgle there. The reggae tone of Nurglings. Okay, now this is what I was talking about. Look at these guys. These, what I assume, are Slaanesh Marauders. Because, oh, there we go. That's a perfect shot. We get the cool, like, Corinthian-style helmets with the crest on top. And we get these Slaaneshi, like, pincer arms. So, It looks like they'll be getting a mortal unit of some sort that is going to be Slaanesh gifted here, obviously. I don't think that this is this is definitely not the Forsaken of Slaanesh, right? So I think that they're going to get some sort of Marauder style unit, and that makes sense. Slaanesh has always had a very close connection to Marauders. You see this a lot when you talk about Slaanesh stuff, especially as it pertains to the Dark Elves and Slaanesh and Marauders, and all three of those kind of coming together in a lot of the publications. When we look at the Tyrion and Teclis trilogy that came out, Inkari led a humongous Slaaneshi Marauder tribe south and then into Ulthuan with Morathi at its head. So again, cultists, Marauders, all over the place. Look at the stomach eating things. It ate things as it charged. So you get to play Hungry Hungry Hippos. It's a new campaign mechanic for Nurgle, and 2 beasts here going off. So I do wonder if they're going to have some sort of ability like with the Ark of Sotek, is that what I'm thinking of? For the Lizardman that shoots the snakes out everywhere, and that would be very cool, right? If it has something like this where it just shoots a bunch of slime or gas or plague all over the place. And I assume that this is some sort of either army ability or part of the lore of Nurgle. It would make a lot of sense. Oh, dude, Kugoth, you are probably using something with nickel oxide in it, but perhaps an antiperspirant, because you are tearing at that armpit over there in the most disgusting manner possible. Good Lord. Lay off the Old Spice antiperspirant. Moving forward there, I think this is just... I mean, this could be the Plague Bearer hero, right? But it just looks like it would be a Forsaken, right? It just has that fused arm and everything, and I think it's just kind of standing alone. I don't think that's the actual hero option, but cool. It's a cool looking model nonetheless, right? But Kugoth looking just disgusting. There's a spawn in the background right there, maybe. Yeah. Nurglings. Tumbleweeds is what I was thinking of, by the way. Tumbleweeds tumbling in, whipping themselves around. Like, look at those, are really awesome animations. So that makes me wonder if maybe these guys are going to have some sort of ability where Nurglings can be attacked or killed by their own friendly fire in a way that's like beneficial to the army. Like, yeah, swing in and they'll explode and they'll do more damage or something. Like, watch this. Wham! Or that's just his actual attack and it sends up a big old like wave of plague and toxin, which is probably more likely. But I really would like to see Nurglings as something that is an expendable unit that you can use to kind of do a 1-2 punch. We get a lot of those overlapping mechanics with Tzeentch, right? How Warp Flame plays so heavily into its mechanics and this ability to spread Warp Flame quickly. So I'd love to see something like that for Nurgle, which is, you know, the basis of it is spreading stuff. That sounded wrong. Is that a different variation? So these pincers look smaller than these. Like, look at that, guys. That guy's huge. That one is huge. So is this like a great weapon variation versus this one being a normal one? Yeah, he's kind of like swinging it like Dark Souls style. I have an armor over 70% encumbrance. What was that right here that I was speaking over in a dumb way and I missed probably? Yeah, just the Herald, Nurglings, Kugoth. Dude, give each other a little high five. Yeah, buddy. So again, we see plague drones in the background. We see a spawn right up here, up in center. We don't see a soul grinder at all, unfortunately, unless it's in the back somewhere and I missed it. No soul grinder. I would have loved to have seen a Nurgle soul grinder to get an idea of how it looks. I would assume it would be like fat and bulbous, right? Like have that kind of great on clean look. Trying to see if I see it in the background that I might have missed. But overall, really cool animations. I really like how the Nurglings, who are supposed to be right just the bottom tier of this army, has such really cool and fun, awesome animations and really cool little sync attacks. So very, very excited to see here. Was it on the far left? That's just a big old floating pustule. Really, really amped up on that. Yeah, so it looks like that guy we saw was just a normal Forsaken. Yeah, so that's them right there. So, okay, just wanted to make sure. I was like, that would not be what I would imagine the Plague the Plague Bearer hero to look like. So, you know, that actually, this shot over here when we saw everything floating, that might be him. That might be the actual hero. But it looks like the other one's behind him, so I guess I'm just trying to find something from nothing at this point. God, why is he making like the MGM lion just hollering at me? But very, very, very stoked on this army here today, guys. I'm excited to hear more about what Slaanesh has got offered to it. Well, again, we can see that it's got some sort of special Marauder, in addition to the Lawnmower of Slaanesh, the Chariots of Slaanesh, the Seekers of Slaanesh. We also got the Fiends. So the roster already for Slaanesh is looking very spicy, and I'm really curious to see what kind of mortal presence we're going to have. We're definitely going to have Furies on that, of course. We're going to have a Spawn, I would assume. Everyone else has had those. I hope the Spawn is sexy too, you know what I mean? But it looks like the mortal representation, rather than it being Forsaken, is going to be Marauders, which again, like I've said, makes a lot of sense. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Go ahead and let me know how you're feeling about all this Nurgle action so far this week. It's kind of weird to fall in line with the the American Thanksgiving holiday with gluttony, but I think it also makes sense at the same time. With Thanksgiving coming up just around the corner here, hopefully we'll have more Total War Warhammer 3 to jump into. I really want to get my hands on a Slaanesh roster and that Enter the World of Slaanesh to get us a good idea of what's all coming. I think, and after that, we will now know what all of the factions are coming to Total War Warhammer 3 and at least a general breadth of them. I can still say that Nurgle is really exciting, right? It looks probably the coolest on paper of all of the Chaos Demons, or I'm sorry, Chaos Gods so far. It looks to have a really fun set of random ass campaign mechanics. It looks like it's going to lead to a pretty cool, unique campaign. A really, really cool, pretty robust looking roster here, right? This is not a small roster by any stretch of the imagination, with a lot of cool variation in it and some fun, like very durable mechanics into those as well. So stoked to see more of that and stoked to see more about Slaanesh. But as always, like I've said before, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below how you're feeling about everything. But have a good one and take care.